So a lot of folk, they don't want me to air the church out or rebuke the church or say what I think or what have you. But y'all don't have no control over me like that at all. Because you know what? If you was doing good things, I could say good things about you. God says, judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. So if you was doing good things, I could only say good things about you. And y'all have not been doing great things. I'm just going to be frank, honest. Y'all have not been doing good. Let me tell you something. I'm making this video. This for the people, if this is your first video ever seen. I'm making this video because my mom worked at a church. And upon her dismissal, she was due some money. Now my mom's supposed to be friends. This is the pastor included. You know, they were supposed to look out for her, make sure everything's cool. When it was time to leave, her friend screwed her. She's supposed to get a check. The lady kept her check because she wouldn't sign this Be Quiet contract because she wanted to take it to an attorney. And by law, you have 30 to 45 days to do that. The lady refused to give her the contract or the check. Fast forward 11 years later, they out here lying saying that my mother was stealing. And she ain't stole a dime. First of all, she's been dead for the past 5 years. So you got to be a very powerful woman to be stealing from your grave. And then she was gone from the church 6 years before she died. And now they're trying to blame the financial status of the church on my mama. And I'm like, oh, no. We ain't doing that. Because she dead. And she can't defend herself. So I'm going to defend her for her. So I'm like, well, shoot, since we lying, where her money? Because y'all owe her money. Where her money at? Guess what they say? Oh, the checks cleared the bank. How's way? She never made it here to get it. Because I didn't bring her here. She only came here one time. And this woman, can't say her name, had the check. She go, she didn't have it. She didn't have it. I'm looking like, you can't be. Show me. I asked them to show it to me. They refused to. Because not saying you're going to do it and then not doing it is the same thing. It's actually worse when you say you're going to do it and then don't do it. Because I'm not going to ask you but so many times. Which is really one time for me. But they messed around and got it twice. So this is why I'm making this video. I'm rebuking this church for what they did. And because they have no leaders. They have no pastor in place. They don't have a good deacon board to even straighten out this mess, which means men with backbones. They're sitting up under wicked, evil leadership. These people appointed themselves in place. Nobody voted them in. Nobody at their church voted those people in. And you can't undo it. Like, I can tell what you did, and then you can't undo it. Because you did it in the state system. So, that means the date is there. The pastor, I don't even think his blood was cold before they appointed themselves in office and commenced to just running the church. They didn't even give this man family enough time to woosah because they lost a husband and their father. This is how low down these people are. But then they got an ignorant family member too that don't want me to tell it. Like, make it make sense, boy. Go be quiet. I'm telling it. These same two women that screwed my mama out her money and wrote checks in her name and cashed it. And I can't say that they are the ones that cashed it, but we can definitively say that they wrote the check and somebody cashed it. And they're not saying who they handed the check to or anything. But one thing I can say, they can't say they handed it to my mom because I didn't bring her up there to get it, and they didn't hand it to me. And they didn't hand it to my sister, and my son was 3 years old. So that means nobody in the family got her check. These same women went and appointed themselves in office before this man's blood got cold. His blood wasn't even cold. So that means what should have happened was the family come in and hold a vote of who they wanted on the board. because the man died in the CEO position. This woman point blank lied to me. He didn't die in CEO position. And I'm looking like, you idiot. It's online. Like you idiot. How dumb can you be to keep lying like this? You're lying where I could just pull the paperwork up and show it to you. The man died in the CEO position. That means his family is supposed to come in and hold a vote. That means the church can either vote them in to stay, or they will be interim on running the church. They stole that from them. Yeah. And then they tried to change the bylaws to cover up. This is a good one. They tried to change the bylaws to cover up what they was doing. Except it's almost like a Scooby-Doo thing. Like, you screwed my diabolical plan. Yeah. Because the real bylaws say that the church vote in their board. Nor does it say that a pastor have to be in place to do this. And they refuse to put in an interim pastor. Now that's a slap to the ministers, their face. But then, when money is your God, I don't know if y'all ready for this one. When money is your God, that's why you're still sitting up in there. Because they pay you every Sunday. Or every time it's time for you to preach. Money is y'all God. And that's a bad thing. Money should never be your God. Because it's a resource. My Father is rich in houses and land. He will provide me everything that I need according to his riches and glory. So I ain't got to go out here and cut my sister's neck off to get paid. That's when you live in lack. See, these people live in lack. They got to screw over their sister, who in this case would have been my mom, to get their position because they live in lack. They don't trust God like they say they do. If you trust God the way you say you do, you wouldn't have to screw over a church. You would know that God will provide you what you need. According to Psalms 23, the Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. Y'all not ready for this one. Here's another one. For you deacons sitting up in there under wicked and evil leadership. And you ministers that rotate every Sunday. Let me help y'all out real quick. We're going to start with Leviticus chapter 5. It says, and if a soul sin, and hear the voice of swearing, and is a witness, whether he have seen or known of it, if he do not utter it, then he shall bear his iniquity. Or if a soul touch any unclean thing, whether it be a carcass or an unclean beast, or a carcass of an unclean cattle, or the carcass of unclean creeping things, and if it be hidden from him, he also shall be unclean and guilty. Or if he touch the uncleanness of a man, whatsoever uncleanness is be, that a man shall be defiled withal, and it be hid from him, when he knoweth of it, then he shall be guilty. Or if a soul swear pronouncing the lips to do evil or to do good, whatsoever it be that a man shall pronounce with an oath, and it be hid from him, when he knoweth of it, then he shall be guilty in one of these things. And it shall be, and it shall be, when he shall be guilty in one of these things, that he shall confess that he hath sinned in these things. And he shall bring his trespass offering unto the Lord, for he sinned with he hath sinneth, a female from a flock, a lamb or a kid of goats, for a sin offering, and the priest shall make it an atonement for concerning his sins. So when y'all know something is wrong, you're supposed to say something and do something. Y'all knew it wasn't right. Y'all knew it wasn't right. Y'all knew it wasn't right. And you said nothing. You sat there. You sat there. I'm so glad that my mom was put through the door, because she was no longer co-signing that behavior. She wasn't co-signing that behavior. And I'm glad. Like at first it hurt. Let me cut this fan on. First it hurt. I was like, man, how can you do my mama like that? Like, that's my mom. But then hindsight is, Y'all was saving her soul. You got a little hot in here. Y'all was saving her soul. Back then I didn't know. Now that I'm older, I know. But it's time for y'all to save your own souls now. I'm going to save my own, and others if I can help it. You never sit up under wicked and evil leadership. You never should do that. Because that means you're co-signing the behavior. Like, get another one for you. Ugh. And I do suffer from heartburn. I don't know if it's the aftermath of a heart attack. But hey, you might hear me on the video too. All right. This is Romans chapter 1, verse 24. And all the way out. It says, wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness through the lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves, who changed the truth of God into a lie, and worship and serve the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. For this cause God gave them up unto vile affections. For even their women did change their natural use into that which is against nature. And likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one toward another, men with working with that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of their error which was met. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient, being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable, unmerciful, who knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but who have pleasures in them that do them. So that's what that place been doing over there, man. They broke a covenant they had with my mom. Knowingly. Like, it's not like it was an accident. You cannot accidentally write checks in someone's name and cash them. You have to plan that out. You have to plan that out. When someone come pick their check up and you refuse to give that to them, you had to plan that out. And you sent that woman through the door with nothing. And then when I come in there to talk to leadership, the deacons, so there was a meeting. There was 2 deacons there. There was the board of directors there. And there was, I'm going to say one miscellaneous person that probably shouldn't have been there, but they was there. They was on this committee that really had no business being created. I let them know what happened. And did they do anything? No. So when you don't do anything or say anything, that means you've co-signed the behavior. And I didn't know that. Like, I had read that verse so many times because I grew up in this church with incorrect teaching. The teaching is that all you got to do is say, I'm sorry. And God will forgive you 77 times, 77 times, 77. You have to repent of your evil doing. Like, you have to repent. That means you have to stop what you're doing and do a U-turn. I thought that I could just live how I wanted to live and I would be okay. Like, I really thought I could be okay. And that's where I started, I ventured into the lesbian lifestyle. The very lifestyle that he's talking about here. I had ventured into it. I mean, it's always been there. And the inner sin has always been there. You just kind of you picking you pick, I call it pick your poison. You picked your poison. But once you know and have a healthy fear of God, why would you want to play like that? And that's why I feel with church. When you're in church and you have that Bible and the minister's supposed to be preaching what's in the Bible, that means you know what you're doing. That's why God holds the ministers and leadership at a higher standard. And that's why their punishment is so severe. If you notice in the history of all the pastors that do, we're going to say sexual sin, they go out real bad. They go out horrible. That is like, they just go out bad. And then the most scariest part of it all is, aren't you afraid of God? Like, that's the most scariest part to me. Is like, I'm going to tell you about this older man. And he was a police officer. He was adopting children. He worked in the church. I mean, he did everything good. And he had died. And he heard this beautiful voice trying to get him to take his last breath. And as he was talking, I was like, ooh, that's Satan. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, dang, man. Because at least, you know, if you listen to these testimonies, it can prep you for when you're under attack and things like that. And when he talked about it, he ended up, you know, he was shown all the kingdom of darkness, you know, like the second heaven. And then he ended up, you know, in heaven. I'm going to say that's the third heaven above, because we're on the first heaven. The air above us is second heaven. Then you got the third heaven. And he gets up there, he said, God's voice sounded like a bunch of trumpets. Like, and I think 1,000 trumpets could be an understatement. He said he was laying face down, he couldn't move. And, you know, he's telling God everything that he's done. And, you know, I did good. And God was like, you didn't do that for me. You did that for you. That's scary. You died and it's for real. Like you this time you done, you know, because God has allowed me to stay here under so many life threats till I'm like, I'm just trying to get right. Like, I'm just trying to do it right. And when he said this, that God said he did it for himself, what I heard in my thought was, and I'm learning to decipher God and the Holy Spirit speaking to me, and then my own thoughts. And then I know if it's ungodly, that's the devil. Like, just know if it's ungodly, those are demons. I heard this thought that said he made himself a God. And I was like, oh. You know how easy it is to make yourself a God if you are a self-serving person? I even believe I had made myself a God at some point. You know, without, and you can do it unbeknownst. That's how easy it is to do something like that. And that's what these people are doing at this church. They're serving themselves. Like, when it's all about a power struggle, I'm in charge, me, and not God. The church is about God. It's not about you. We're supposed to be coming together to break strongholds. We're supposed to be going against principalities in the spirit. That's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be out here discipling. All that church has been doing is fighting over money, fighting over power. I'm in charge. And we're not talking about young people. We're talking about 70-something-year-old people that are great grandparents. We're not talking about they past grandparents. They own great. That means your private parts have made at least 10 to 15 people. And these people just won't operate like the way they're supposed to. I mean, I was so, I'm going to say, hurt to see that these two women and this deacon appointed themselves on the board without regard to the bylaws, without doing it the correct way. And then you're standing there looking crazy when someone is telling you that you're wrong. And you're like, you know, you're trying to find a way to get me back out of the building because I will expose your wrongdoing, because that's church. That's church. That is God's house. That's not your house. Like, you can run your own house that way, but church, come on, man. Do you not fear God? God controls your time on this planet. Like, in May of last year, I was begging God for more time. No amount of money can purchase time. All this stuff here, all the house, the cars, all that, you gonna die and leave it here. You're gonna die and leave it here. And what do you do when you ain't live for God here? Where you think you going? When you lived for yourself on this plane, where do you think you're going? There's a verse in the Bible where people will be going, Father, 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 and he gonna be like, I don't know you. I mean, like, I don't want none of that. I don't even want to be here and God not be in my presence. A reprobated mind means you are unprincipled, wicked person, or you've been rejected by God and you are no longer eligible for salvation, or you have surpassed salvation. I mean, you can't be saved. That's bad. So not running that church the way you're supposed to is not going to affect me, because a lot of people do stuff to hurt you. And that's what they was doing to my mom. Little did they know they were saving her soul. Because by casting her out, means she wasn't co-signing evil no more. Her fighting for her position to stay in that building means she was helping, but at the same time she was co-signing. So all you did was save her soul. That's all you did. You screwed out of her money, but she made it without that money. I can't miss what I ain't never had. But I can sell the story. You got to understand, I can sell what she went through. And I ain't got to talk to nobody over there, especially this family member of the pastor. I ain't got to talk to you about nothing. I can sell the story. Oh, yeah. I can sell that. Because that is real events. And then I don't even have to use your name. And I want use your name. It ain't no have to. I want. Because you would never sue me and take a dime from me. I'm smarter than that. But what y'all did in that church, those ministers that's in there now, y'all, you serving yourself. You wouldn't preach there for free. You wouldn't play them instruments for free. If you truly about God, each one of y'all should have your own YouTube channel and your own ministry. You wouldn't sit there and wait for them to pick you to be a pastor. And I would be offended that I've been preaching for a year and giving my services to this church, and they don't think I'm qualified enough to pastor. Like, that's a slap in the face. 4 different men are rotating each Sunday, and these people don't think you are qualified to run a church. But they have unqualified people handling their money. Make it make sense. I wouldn't do it. Because in the Bible, it says you're supposed to have faith the size of a mustard seed. Even one of y'all preached on, New Year's. Because New Year's fell on a Sunday. Faith without works is dead. That was one of y'all sermons. And you sit up in the church waiting for one of them to make you a pastor. No. And then you're sitting under a church that's under corrupt and evil leadership, and you are a minister. Who are you serving? A lot of y'all wondering why your children is out here off the chain. If you were in my age group and you grew up in that church, you got to be careful of what spiritual covenants you make. That's an altar. That's a live altar in that church. When you speak over that altar, you talk in front of that altar, you are invoking spirits in that building. That's why a lot of people, I heard one girl say that she didn't, when they were sing and preach and pray, She ain't feel nothing no more. Baby, that's a sign. You do not supposed to co-sign wrongdoing. As long as you walking in that building, you sitting down, and you paying your money, you are co-signing wrongdoing. Now either you put something together and you get control over that church and put it in the path that it's supposed to be, or the easiest way is just to walk away. Dust your shoes off. Go to a church that's there for God and let God handle these evil Negroes. Because he gonna do it. Like, the women think they bother me by having the people exile me and turn away from me. I didn't come there for no friends. I came there to air it out, to tell what y'all did, to tell how evil you are because you're over the church. So people will move you out the way. Either they move you or they move themselves. That's one of the reasons for doing it. Either they move you or they move themselves. Because y'all can't pay them y'all can't pay that light bill out y'all pocket. Y'all have to respect the members of your church. You have to respect them. You have to follow the rules and regulations. Y'all favorite word is decency and in order. And y'all been disordered for a long time. And you definitely haven't been decent. No woman should come to a church and tell y'all that a deacon have swindled her out of her money. And you don't make that man pay her money back. Or you don't have him sit down. That says a lot about the church. That means you all uphold thievery. Leadership should not be taken. People in leadership positions should not be swindling the members. And then that particular young lady also should boss up and go press some charges and get his behind locked up. She shouldn't be in there yelling. Go, some police out there, go get his butt locked up. Just like the women that stole money from the church. What was stolen was in excess of $18,000 because that money was supposed to go to my mom for her severance, for her agreeing to walk away from her position. And then in this Bible verse that I just read, it's called covenant breakers. So when you knowingly break covenants, your punishment is written. And then those that agree to it. I had to meet them. It was 2 deacons in that meeting. Not one of them have reached out to me even after that about bank statements, about council checks. Nobody have said a word. But you're doing it for God, right? You're protecting the church, right? Staining someone's character. And you could tell me in a private room, oh, Bessie didn't do this, didn't do that, but you won't go out there and say it out loud. You won't have a preacher preach about slander. You won't have nobody correct the behaviors of the members of the church. But you're doing it for God, right? Because correcting the behaviors of the members of that church could save their soul from eternal damnation. Y'all are doing everything for yourself. Everybody in there wants to be in charge so they can say they did something. But guess what? God ain't going to give you the reward because you didn't do it for him. You're doing it to be seen. That's vanity. That's pride. Doing things so you can be seen is pride and ego. For the lady that was retyping the bylaws and passing out, her version, you're doing it to be seen. And God is not pleased. Those ministers standing up there preaching, one preach, they rotate. Every Sunday, you in a building that's corrupt. And you willing to go along because they paying you. God is not pleased. Those 2 women that appointed themselves as a director of the board without the church vote, and you if I'm going to say funneling the money, God is not pleased. Baby, if I don't get a dime from y'all, it's not going to affect me not one bit. You get to talk to God about writing checks in my mom's name and they mysteriously getting cash. You get to talk to God about that. I don't want God to be upset with me. Now, I make mistakes, but I don't want to purposefully do anything that's like ignoring God. Like playing around in church like that, you're totally playing in God's face. Like, you see how I reacted to somebody playing on my mama's name? You see how angry I was about that? So what you think God is? If I'm a human and I'm angry because y'all were playing on my mama's name, what you think God and Jesus doing? Like, what do you think? Y'all are collecting money under the church umbrella. You got people preaching. You know, you act like this is a nightclub where you performing every weekend. And you say, oh, we're going to call it church. But you ain't stepped outside them four walls and done no ministering. Ain't been doing no mentorship at no schools. You ain't been out here trying to talk to these strippers and get them off the pole. You ain't been out here talking to the dope boys trying to get them out the streets. You ain't not been out here feeding the homeless. Y'all ain't passing out book back. Y'all ain't doing nothing towards discipleship. All you've been doing is collecting money, paying the musicians, paying the preachers, and the light bill and utilities in the building. But you ain't been operating like church. That's not a church. That's a nightclub. Well, a day club where you put your suit on and you go in there and you dance for a couple hours. And yeah. And then you go home. What's the difference between that and a nightclub? I can put on my street gear, go in there, get me a drink, high five, that's my jam, and then go home. You have not done nothing no different than a nightclub, except you just threw church on it, and that was it. How are you operating like a church? I'll wait. Ain't no Girl Scouts there. Ain't no Boy Scouts there. Ain't no basketball team. Ain't no singles ministry. Ain't no showing folk how to buy a house, financial planning. No health fairs. There used to be health fairs there. Nothing. You offer nothing. And then get mad when somebody asks you a question about your finances and what are you doing with the money. You got an attitude. Like, how dare you ask? What are we doing? How dare you? Or when somebody say, oh, we need new people in place, you upset because it's time to get up out your seat and let some new folk run the building. So I ain't gonna fight with you. I can just dust my feet off and go on to me another church, and I'm straight. Because I ain't got the answer for that later on. You do. I don't have the answer for that. You got the answer for that. I'm not gonna go in there and have no stroke or heart attack like my mom and they're having a stroke, trying to fight y'all to keep the church going. I would have. Bye. Cause that's where I'm at. I'd just rather just make some videos about you so you know exactly what I'm thinking. You ain't got to hear from nobody. You can come in, push play, and you see exactly what I think. I think y'all have been nothing short of demonic. You can say, man, Donald, you live a good life because your mama worked at the church. Money ain't everything. Money ain't everything. Money everything to you, then you a sad soul. Because you can't take money with you when you die. Money can't buy you time. Trust me, I was laying in here on my bed trying to keep myself in my body because I was leaving my body. I was coming out of my body. I was in here trying to keep myself in my body, and there ain't enough money that can stop that from happening. Ask your pastor and ask my mama, when you die, you leave your house, your cars, your suits, your shoes behind for the Negroes down here to fight over. That's the truth. Both my parents did. They left me all their stuff. They ain't here no more. I can't talk to them. I can't call them. I can't do nothing. So when you die, you going to leave this body. That body going to go in the box. A wood pine. I put as a pine box. And it goes into the ground. And you in that box going to turn to dirt. Only thing going to be left down there is your bones. And y'all up in there fighting about money. God's money is that. And you ain't even doing what you're supposed to do with God's money. It says, bring thy meat into thy storehouse. He didn't say take it back out the storehouse. He said, bring thy meat into thy storehouse. The church is the people and not the building. You're supposed to be growing the body of Christ, not destroying the body of Christ. That's what you're supposed to be doing as a church. So when I'm talking about the church, I'm talking about the people. Yes, those people. Or I've met nothing but narcissists there. Like as I gotten older, those are narcissists in that building. Nothing but gaslighting, nothing but dismissive behavior, nothing but a bunch of word salads. I mean, I can't get a straight outside of nobody in that building. Because you know what? God ain't in them. When that girl said she didn't feel nothing when they were praying, I'm like, girl, you late. I ain't felt nothing in almost 20 years. Because it's hard to watch somebody that's done so much dirt get up with a Bible. Because it's like, dang, did you read it? Did you read that? But how are you reading this to me and you reading it, but you ain't acting on it? Just because you can read the Bible don't mean you're going to act on it. It's hard to act out. It's hard to act on the Bible. When it says deny your flesh and pick up your cross daily. It's hard to deny my flesh. My flesh want to do a whole lot of stuff. And I have to just be like, God, what would you do? God, how would you handle this? Because the old me is like, let me put some hands on you. I got some choice words for you. Shoot, anytime, any place, drop your locale. That's the old me that I'm currently growing out of. But yeah, that's my experience with that church. It's been nothing short of demonic. Do I think it could do a U-turn? It take an act of God to get them devils about that church. And it's too many of them. I'm gonna be honest with you, it's too many of them. Well, I think it was one or two, but it's like it's the whole building. It like to fix that church would possibly mean close it and rename it with new people. Like you had to get rid of everybody. Because everybody is rooting. This is my cousin Pookie Ray Ray, and this is my favorite person. When it come down to God, you can't like your mom and them. You gotta like him and love him more than your mama do. You gotta love God more than your mama and your children. And those people that don't have that, they feel each other. They feel each other. They feel what each other think, and not what God think. That's a sad thing. That's a real sad thing. But anyway, I think I talked for about 40 minutes. Peace.